Hello everyone, I'm Sarita V, Assistant Professor, Department of Basic Sciences and Humanities, Rajagiri School of Engineering and Technology. Welcome to the third session of Investment Analysis and Capital Budgeting from the fifth module, Business Economics. So far, we have discussed about the time value of money, that is the relevance of converting future value of money into present value terms, investment analysis, and related to investment analysis, we learned what capital budgeting is, and what capital budgeting actually tells us is about different evaluation criterion, and associated with each evaluation criterion there is a decision rule. And we started discussing about the non-discounted cash flow criterion, which also includes payback time period, discounted payback time period, and accounting rate of return. In this session, I will be discussing on the discounted cash flow criterion, which incorporates three methods, that is net present value or NPV, profitability index or PI, internal rate of return or IRR. The importance of discounted cash flow techniques is that it takes into account the time value of money and profitability of the project. Now, before entering into the discussion, let us discuss first the relevance of calculating the time value of money. Understanding the significance of converting a future return on investment into present value terms is very important. Take the case of this timeline. A person is investing in 2020 and he realizes the return on his investment in total in 2025. So, this time value of money or converting this future return on investment into present value terms tells you what is rupees 1 in future worth today. You can use the formula for converting this future value of money into present value terms, that is 1 by 1 plus r the whole raised to n. Let us take an example. Suppose a firm want to invest rupees 5 lakh in a venture for 5 years and is expecting a good amount of return on the investment. Suppose it is expecting the following returns from the investment over the 5 years. Say 90,000 in the first year, 1 lakh in the second year, 95,000 in the third, etc. up to the fifth year. With the help of a discount rate, the firm can convert these future returns to present value terms. Now I hope you remember what discount rate is. Converting this future return to present value will help the firm in understanding what will the future value of money fetch it in present value terms. Now let me make it simple for you. Imagine you have 1 rupee in hand and you can buy 2 candy. Suppose you are deciding to invest this 1 rupee for 2 years. Just an example. And when you convert the return from the invested 1 rupee in the second year, you are finding that you can buy 4 candies with a return in present value terms. Then you find this 1 rupee worth investing. But if you find the return when converted into present value terms is leaving you in a situation where you can buy only 1 candy, then you will never invest that 1 rupee. You will spend it since the 1 rupee value today can purchase more than what a rupee value can purchase in future. I hope you're clear with that idea. That means why is it important to convert or to realize the future value of money in present value terms? Now, if the idea behind the calculation of present value is clear to you, then we can move on with the first technique of discounted cash flow criterion, that is net present value or NPV. NPV method is the classic economic method of evaluating investment proposals. Net present value is the difference between present value of cash inflow and initial investment. We have already learned how to convert this future value of money into present value terms. Now we can in detail learn how the net present value is helping us in assessing the profitability of a particular investment. Now, NPV correctly tells you that cash flows arising at different time periods differ in value and are comparable only when their present values are found out. The formula for calculating net present value method is NPV is equal to C1 divided by 1 plus K plus C2 divided by 1 plus K the whole raised to 2 plus C3 divided by 1 plus K the whole raised to 3 plus etc. plus Cn divided by 1 plus K the whole raised to n minus C0. Take an example. A firm is investing rupees 5 lakh for 7 years. The C0 in the formula is expressing this initial investment, that is 5 lakh. Now suppose that the firm is expecting return on or cash inflows for the 7 years. The variables C1, C2, C3 etc. up to Cn, in this example case it will be n will be 7, is expressing these cash inflows during each year through these 7 years. The firm need to know the present value of each cash inflow. Hence, it converts these cash inflow using a discount rate. The present value of all the cash inflows of different time periods are added together, and the net present value should be found out by subtracting present value of cash outflow from the present value of cash inflow. In the case of this example, the present value 5 lakh will be 5 lakh only. The project should be accepted if NPV is positive. So, coming to the formula once again, C1 to Cn will be the cash inflows in 1 to n years. C0 will be the initial cost of investment. That means the initial amount the firm is investing in a particular project or venture. N will be number of years or expected life of investment. K will be the cost of capital or discount rate. In the problem which we will practice, the interest rate of K will be kept constant. And now we can calculate the net present value of different projects. So we have C1, C2, C3, etc. up to Cn as the return on this investment through the n number of years. K will be the discounting rate. N will be the number of years and C0 will be the initial investment. We have to find out the difference between the sum of these cash inflows which is converted into present value terms and the initial investment. As we discussed earlier, there is always a decision rule attached to the capital budgeting techniques. For NPV, the acceptance rules or decision rule is as follows. Now, suppose you find that the NPV is positive, so you can accept the project. Now, you can reject the project if NPV is negative. You may accept the project when NPV is equal to 0. These are the acceptance rule associated with NPV. Now, the NPV method can be used to select between mutually exclusive projects also. The one with the higher NPV should be selected. That means when you compare two projects and when you calculate the profitability of the project using NPV, you can always choose a project with higher NPV. Now, what are the advantages of NPV? In the first case, a positive net present value for a particular investment proposal, it actually helps a particular investor in understanding what is the maximum amount of money that he can actually invest, whether he can take this particular investment or not. Secondly, it actually helps in converting the future value of money in present value terms. That is, it calculates time value of money. Another advantage is that it takes into account the profitability of investment. Higher the NPV value, the more profitable the project will be. Another advantage is that it increases shareholders' wealth by identifying and accepting profitable projects. So, identification of the profitable projects helps the shareholders to choose the best among the different profitable projects. Net present value method is also not free from limitation. Some of the disadvantages are as follows. The first one is about discount rate. This discount rate is actually measured or is calculated based on the current market information and some of the economic condition that we can actually foresee. So this particular prediction or expectation of discount rate for a particular cash inflow, sometimes it can be a little bit risky. It need not be correct every time. The second disadvantage is that it is difficult to compare two different projects with different cash outlay. For example, project A is costing 1 lakh rupee and project B is costing 20,000. So there are two types of investment of 1 lakh, that is a higher amount, and 20,000, that is a lower amount. So it is illogical to compare which one is profitable since the amount of investment is actually different in different project. The last disadvantage is that determining possible cash inflow also is very difficult to project. For example, if I am investing 1 lakh rupee, I cannot precisely say that in the coming 2 to 3 years I will get this much amount of return in accurate manner. So it is actually difficult to foresee or to expect what is the cash inflow. That means you cannot actually project the amount of cash inflow in future. Now let us take an example. Assume that a project X cost 2,500 now and is expected to generate year-end cash inflows of rupees 900, rupees 800, rupees 700, rupees 600 and rupees 500 in the years 1 through 5. The opportunity cost of capital may be assumed to be 10%. So, the project X cost 2,500. So the initial investment of C0 is 2,500. Now it is expected to generate year-end cash inflow of rupees 900 to rupees 500 in years 1 through 5. So these cash inflow, that is 900, 800 till rupees 500, are referred to as the cash inflows or return on investment. So C1, C2, C3, C4 and C5 is given in the question. The opportunity cost of capital is assumed to be 10%. So K will be 10%. And N, the expected lifetime of this investment, will be 5. So now we need to calculate net present value for the project costing 2,500. The formula for NPV for this particular project for 5 years is NPV is equal to C1 by 1 plus K the whole raised to 1 plus C2 by 1 plus K the whole raised to 2 plus etc. up to C5 by 1 plus K the whole raised to 5 minus C0. So the values which are given in the brackets, we are converting all these cash inflows into present value terms. So we have NPV equal to 900, the first year cash inflow, divided by 1 plus 10%, that is 0.10, the whole raised to 1, plus 800, that is cash inflow of the second year, divided by 1 plus 0.10, the whole raised to 2, plus the third year cash inflow, that is 700, divided by 1 plus 0.10, the whole raised to 3, plus etc. up to the fifth year, that is cash inflow is 500, divided by 1 plus 0.10, the whole raised to 5, minus the initial cash investment, that is 2,500. So, while summing up the present value of these cash inflows, we will get NPV is equal to 2725.52 minus 2500, that is equal to 225.52. So the total present value is of these cash inflow is greater than the initial amount, that is 2500, that is 2725.52 is of course greater than 2500. So we have, while finding the difference between the present value of cash inflow and the cash outlay, we will get NPV equal to 225.52. Now this NPV is actually greater than 0 or it is positive. So can we accept the project? So now NPV, it is positive and hence we can accept the project. Now this particular question is related to one particular project. Now imagine you are given two projects and you have to choose the best project among that. So comparing different projects using NPV is also to be understood. So now let's see how can we compare two competing projects and how can we select the best project using NPV. Take this example, a choice is to be made between two competing projects which require an equal investment of rupees 60,000. So the initial investment is same for both these projects and are expected to generate net cash flows for 6 years. which is given in the table in the next slide. The cost of capital of the company is 10%. Using NPV, recommend which proposal is preferred. So the initial investment is 60,000. The expected lifetime time period is 6 years, and the cost of capital assumed by the management is 10%. Now let us look into the cash flow. So in the question, project A and project B's cash inflows are given for 1 to 6 years. For project A, the cash inflow from the first to 6 years are 30,000, 20,000, 15,000. Now you can see that in the fourth year, there is no cash inflow for project A. So we will not consider that particular year's cash inflow. We will move on to the fifth year calculation. That is, in the fifth year we have 17,000, sixth year we have 11,000. Take the case of project B. The cash inflows for 1 to 6 years are given as 14,000, 16,000, 22,000, 29,000, 12,000 and 8,000 respectively. So in the question, we have the initial investment for project A and project B. We have cash inflows for project A and project B. We have the assumed discount rate set by the management, and at the same time we have the expected lifetime of the particular investment. So what are the steps for calculating NPV? First, we have to calculate the net present value for project A. Then we have to calculate net present value for project B. With the results of the NPV for project A and project B, we have to compare the NPVs of these two projects, and finally we have to select the project with higher NPV. Now let us calculate net present value for project A. The initial investment is given by C0, that is 60,000. The cash inflows are given for 1 to 6 years, but in the fourth year we do not have any cash inflow, so we will leave it as 0. So C1 to C6 are given as 30,000, 20,000, 15,000, 0, 17,000 and 11,000. The cost of capital or the opportunity cost of capital is given by 10%. Now the formula for calculating NPV for project A is equal to C1 by 1 plus K the whole raised to 1 plus C2 by 1 plus K the whole raised to 2 plus C3 by 1 plus K the whole raised to 3 plus 0 plus C5 by 1 plus K the whole raised to 5 plus C6 by 1 plus K the whole raised to 6 minus C0. Now remember, in the fourth year, we will not actually calculate the present value of cash inflow, since we are not receiving any cash inflow during the fourth year. Now using this formula, we can convert these cash inflow into present value terms and find the difference between the present value of these cash inflow with that of the initial investment. So we have NPV equal to 30,000 divided by 1 plus 0.1 the whole raised to 1 plus 20,000 divided by 1 plus 0.1 the whole raised to 2 plus 15,000 divided by 1 plus 0.1 the whole raised to 3 plus 0 plus 17,000 divided by 1 plus 0.1 the whole raised to 5 plus 11,000 divided by 1 plus 0.1 the whole raised to 6 minus the initial cash investment, that is 60,000. Now the total value of the present value of these cash inflow is 71,836.25 minus 60,000 will give you the NPV, that is 11,836.25. So net present value for project A is 11,836.25. Now let us calculate NPV for project B. The initial cash investment C0 is 60,000. The cash inflows for C1 to C6 are given as 14,000, 16,000, 22,000, 29,000, 12,000 and 8,000. The opportunity cost of capital assumed by the management K is 10%. So the formula for calculating NPV is C1 by 1 plus K the whole raised to 1 plus C2 by 1 plus K the whole raised to 2 plus etc. up to C6 by 1 plus K the whole raised to 6 minus C0. Just like how we converted these cash inflow into present value terms for project A, We will do the same for project B. So NPV equal to the first year cash inflow, that is 14,000, divide by 1 plus 0.1 the whole raised to 1, plus 16,000, that is second year cash inflow, divide by 1 plus 0.1 the whole raised to 2, plus etc. up to the sixth year cash inflow, that is 8,000, divide by 1 plus 0.1 the whole raised to 6, minus the initial cash investment, that is 60,000. So summing up all these present value of cash inflow, we will get NPV equal to 74,253.583 minus the initial cash investment, that is 60,000, which will give us NPV equal to 14,253.583 for project B. So here we have the two results for NPV for project A and project B. For project A it is 11,836.25 and for project B it is 14,253.53. Comparing these two NPV, which NPV is higher? Yes, it is for project B. So we accept project B since NPV for project B is greater than that of NPV for project A. So I hope now the calculation of NPV is clear to you. If a particular project is given, whether we can accept the project or reject the project based on NPV method, and at the same time if two projects are given, how can you compare both NPV and accept the best project. Now let us move on to another discounting method, that is profitability index. So now let us learn what profitability index is. The formula for profitability index is very easy. If you're thorough with the formula for NPV, then the formula for profitability index will not be very difficult for you. Now let us see what profitability index is. Now let us see what profitability index is. If you define profitability index, it is the ratio of present value of cash inflow at the required rate of return to the initial cash outflow of the investment. The profitability index is calculated by dividing the present value of all the cash inflows by initial investment. And in this case, that means in profitability index, if you are applying this method, the project with higher profitability index is preferred. Now, it is a useful tool for ranking projects because it allows you to quantify the amount of value created per unit of investment. Let me make it a little more clear. Suppose there are two projects, say A and B, each with initial investment outlay of, that is C0 of 5 lakh. Project A and project B is having same initial investment, that is 5 lakh. And after calculating the net present value for project A, the result is 1 lakh and the net present value for project B it is 1.5 lakh. So comparing the NPV of A and B, that is 1 and 1.5 lakh respectively, obviously we will choose project B because it is having higher net present value. But when we come to profitability index, there is a small dispute. It is not logical to conclude that project B is better than project A just because it has higher net present value. Why? Because it is wiser to calculate the net present value added by each project per rupee 1 of initial investment. That is what profitability index is measuring here. It is actually helping you to quantify the amount of value created per unit of investment. The formula for calculating profitability index is equal to present value of cash inflows divided by initial cash outlay. For example, if we are having cash inflow for 3 years, it will be C1 by 1 plus R the whole raised to 1 plus C2 by 1 plus R the whole raised to 2 plus C3 by 1 plus R the whole raised to 3, the whole divided by C0, that is the present value of cash inflow divided by initial cash outlay. Now let us see what are the steps in calculating profitability index. First, we have to find the present value of cash inflow and we have to sum it up. Second, divide the total present value of cash inflow with the initial outlay, that is C0. And the last step, which is more important, applying the acceptance rule or decision rule. These are the steps while calculating profitability index. Now, as every capital budgeting technique, the profitability index is also having a decision rule or acceptance rule. So, we accept the project when the profitability index is greater than 1, that is when the final answer is greater than 1. We reject the project when the profitability index is less than 1, and we may or may not accept the project when the profitability index is equal to 1. Now, the project with positive NPV will have profitability index greater than 1. Which means if the profitability index is less than 1, it means that the project's NPV is negative. Now let us see one problem associated with profitability index. The first example, the initial cash outlay of a project is rupees 1 lakh and it can generate cash inflow of rupees 40,000, rupees 30,000, rupees 50,000 and rupees 20,000 in year 1 through 4. Assume a 10% rate of discount. So from the question, we can just summarize it as the initial cash outlay C0 is equal to 1 lakh. The cash inflows C1, C2, C3, C4 are given as 40,000, 30,000, 50,000 and 20,000. The rate of discount set by the management is equal to K, that is 10%. So how can you calculate profitability index using these information? We can just divide the present value of cash inflow by the initial cash outlay, that is C0. So the present value of cash inflows can be found out by 40,000 divided by 1 plus 0.10 the whole raised to 1, etc. up to 20,000 divided by 1 plus 0.10 the whole raised to 4. Summing up the present value of cash inflow, we will get a total of 1,12,383.04. So, the profitability index is equal to, we have the present value of cash inflow as well as we have the total cash outlay, that is 1 lakh. So, profitability index is equal to 1,12,383.04 divided by 1 lakh, which will give us the answer 1.12. So, as per the acceptance rule, if the profitability index is greater than 1, we can accept the project. So, here 1.12 is of course greater than 1, hence we accept the project. This is the way how we can calculate profitability index. Now let us try to learn what internal rate of return is. Internal rate of return is another important capital budgeting technique. Now let us see what internal rate of return is. As per definition, it is a calculated rate of return or discount rate R at which NPV will be equal to 0. In other words, if we compute the present value of future cash flows from a potential project using the internal rate as a discount rate and subtract it out of the original investment, our net present value of the project would be 0. So we are solving for IRR by setting NPV equal to 0. It is a compound annual rate of return that the firm will earn if it invests in the project and receives the given cash inflows. Let me make it simpler. The internal rate of return is an alternative measure for evaluating projects, and this particular rate, since it is incalculable rate, and hence it is calculated manually by trial and error method. After a series of iterations only we can arrive at IRR that makes NPV equal to 0. In project evaluation, this rate has to be equal to or greater than the required rate for the project to be acceptable. It is the annualized rate of return from an investment. That means in every year how much percentage you can get the return from investment. It gives a rate of return earned by a particular project. Hence, we can see that the internal rate of return is the discount rate at which the present value of cash flows generated by a project is equal to the present value of capital invested, so that the net present value of the project is 0. Now, the advantages of applying IRR for deciding a good investment project. The first one, obviously, it actually considers the time value of money, and at the same time it is an indicator of efficiency. Now, it also helps us in ranking the projects. A higher IRR means there is overall a good return for that particular project. Now, IRR is not actually free from its limitations. The calculation of IRR, that means the series of iterations that we are giving, that means the trial and error we are employing in calculating IRR is always complicated and lengthy. Now, another disadvantage is that when projects under consideration are mutually exclusive, IRR may sometimes give conflicting results. Now, we may get multiple IRRs for the same project when there are non-conventional cash flows. Now, coming to the acceptance rules or decision rules, according to this particular method IRR, a project is considered acceptable only if its internal rate of return is equal to or greater than the desired rate of return. Now, what is the formula for calculating IRR? The IRR is a rate at which where we can actually equate net present value equal to 0. So first we have to calculate net present value. So I hope you all are aware about the formula for net present value, given C1 by 1 plus R the whole raised to 1 plus etc. to Cn by 1 plus R the whole raised to n minus C0. This has to be equal to 0. So that particular rate which actually equates NPV equal to 0 is considered as IRR. That means here the present value of cash inflow has to be equal to the net present value. When any project generates uneven cash inflow, IRR can be found out by trial and error method. And if the calculated present value of the expected cash inflow is lower than the present value of cash outflow, a lower rate should be tried and vice versa. This process can be repeated until NPV become 0. Let us understand the internal rate of return with the help of an example. Here it's a question. A project cost rupees 32,000 and is expected to generate cash inflows of rupees 16,000, rupees 14,000 and rupees 12,000 at the end of each year for the next 3 years. Calculate IRR. So it's a small time period investment here and we have to calculate IRR. In the table, the year 1 to 3 and their corresponding cash inflows of 16,000, 14,000 and 12,000 respectively are given. We have to calculate IRR using this information. As I told you earlier, trial and error method is the best method for finding the correct IRR. So here I'm taking 10% as the discount rate. Here we have year 1 to 3 and corresponding cash inflows. So IRR is a rate at which the sum of the present value of cash inflows will be equal to the initial investment. So we have to convert the each year's cash inflow into present value terms and find the total of that present value and then find the difference between the present value of cash inflow and the initial investment. Initial investment is 32,000 which is given in the question. So now when we convert these years, that means the 1 to 3 years cash inflow into present value terms, we will get the sum of present value of cash inflow. So let's take the first year, that is the cash inflow for the first year is 16,000. So when we convert it into present value terms, it will be 16,000 divided by 1 plus 10%, that is 0.10, the whole raised to 1. So we will get the present value as 14,545.45. Similarly, we will calculate the same for the cash inflow for the second year, that is 14,000, and cash inflow for the third year, that is 12,000. Now we have calculated the cash inflow that R is equal to 10%, which we have selected randomly. So the sum of the cash inflows is equal to 35,131.48. The formula for finding IRR is the present value of cash inflow summed up together minus C0 has to be equal to 0. So we have to see whether the sum of the cash inflows are equal to the initial cash outlay, that is 32,000. Here, the sum of the present value of cash inflow is 35,131.48, which is greater than 32,000, that is the initial cash outlay C0. So a positive NPV at 10% indicates that the project's true rate of return will be higher than 10%. So we have to, in the second method, we have to increase the rate of return and see whether that particular rate of return equates this present value of cash inflow, that is sum of present value of cash inflow, to the initial investment, that is C0. Now, as I told you earlier, we have to select a particular R or interest rate which is equating the sum of present value to the initial cash investment 32,000. That means we need to select a particular rate of return which will actually give the sum of the present value as 32,000, which will actually equate it to the initial cash investment, that is 32,000. So now, since 10% is giving a higher NPV, let us try a higher interest rate, that is 18%. So we are selecting it randomly. In the table, year 1, 2, 3 is given and the corresponding cash inflow, that is 16,000, 14,000 and 12,000 is given respectively. Just like how we calculated for 10%, the present value, we are calculating the same at 18%. So here for the first year it will be 16,000, that is the first year cash inflow, divided by 1 plus 0.1 the whole raised to 1, and the present value of cash inflow will be 13,559.32. Same way we will calculate for the second and third year, that is for 14,000 and 12,000 cash inflow respectively. If you are not interested in going for further calculation using trial and error method, you can conclude your answer by saying that the IRR lies between 10% and 18%. But it would be more appropriate if you go for further calculation and pick up a randomly picked up interest rate and see whether it is actually equating the sum of the present value of cash inflows with cash outlay. So here I am moving forward with a randomly picked up interest rate, that is 15%. Now if I am employing this 15% in the same equation, just as we did before, I am getting the present value of cash inflow, that is the sum of the present value of cash inflow, as 32,365.29, which is yes greater than C0, but the NPV is actually now the amount is getting lesser. That means it is nearing to the value 0. So which means that the IRR actually can lie between 15% and 16% respectively. So we can conclude our answer by saying that the IRR lies between 15 and 16%. If you are not interested in going for further calculation using trial and error method, you can conclude your answer by saying that the IRR lies between 10% and 18%. But it would be more appropriate if you go for further calculation and pick up a randomly picked up interest rate and see whether it is actually equating the sum of the present value of cash inflows with cash outlay. So here I am moving forward with a randomly picked up interest rate, that is 15%. Now if I am employing this 15% in the same equation, just as we did before, I am getting the present value of cash inflow, that is the sum of the present value of cash inflow, as 32,365.29, which is yes greater than C0, but the NPV is actually now the amount is getting lesser. That means it is nearing to the value 0. So which means that the IRR actually can lie between 15% and 16% respectively. So we can conclude our answer by saying that the IRR lies between 15 and 16%. So our answer will be the IRR will lie between 15% and 16% for this particular problem. Now, if you're going for calculation using 16%, the NPV will be negative. And hence, that is why we are actually concluding that the IRR will be lying between 15 and 16%. So I hope these capital budgeting techniques are clear for you. In the next session, we will be discussing on discounted payback time period, and we will move on to a different topic, that is cost benefit analysis and resource management. Thank you.